Hi everyone. As promised, here is a video about stretching your neck. This area is probably the one area over the years that I have heard people complain about having issues in the most. Whether it's because they drive a lot for work, you sit at a desk, maybe you work with your hands in maybe ceramics working or making jewelry or a chef's. Everybody seems to have issues with their neck. People who are really tall, who are chronically having to duck and watch out for hitting their head on things. We have, these relatively heavy heads that have to be held up by our spine and our neck muscles. And there is a lot of information I could share with you about what's going on in the muscles, but today I just want to focus a little bit on some practical mobility and stretching. The primary benefit of stretching is that it increases blood flow to the area. And as we increase blood flow to the area, that brings more oxygen, that innervates the nerves, and it helps with healing and mobility. So today, I'm going to show you just a couple of things that I personally regularly do based off of what I've learned about the body, and I receive the benefits of those things. I have had 2 car accidents and 2 severe cases of whiplash. Growing up, I had multiple falls from riding horses, and so I discovered that I have a little bit of degeneration in my cervical vertebrae, and those are those vertebrae in your neck. We've got 5 specifically that we're going to focus on, and in those areas there are a lot of muscle groups that connect to those areas. If you want to look them up, the ones we're going to focus on affecting today, the primary ones will be your SCM, your sternocleidomastoid, which attaches to the base of your mastoid process all the way to your sternum area below here near your clavicle. You've got your scalenes that come from the side of your top 2, your second from the top vertebrae on the what we call the transverse process of those down to your first rib, I believe, underneath your clavicle. And then we've also got the scapula with a couple muscle groups that attach there, especially the levator scapula, and your trapezius muscle, which is associated with your shoulder. So a really great thing to do before you start stretching your neck is just sort of loosening your shoulders a little bit. And I'm going to show you one way that I do that. This is a relatively easy thing to do. Won't cost you a lot of money if you want to order one of these online, but studies have shown that if you spend 90 seconds a day hanging from a pull-up bar, you can loosen the fascia in your shoulders and all of your sort of fascia in this upper part where you have a lot of mobility. So you just hop up on your bar and hang, dangle, loosen those shoulders. You can try lifting, loosening, you can twist, you can hang, you can set a timer if you want to. You don't have to do all 90 seconds at once, but if you can get up and do that multiple times a day, you will receive a lot of loosening benefits. This is something I recommend to clients often. Now once you have done that, you can get back to your mat, maybe stretch both arms up in the air. You can put your arms behind your back and grab your hands and just sort of loosen your chest muscle, get those SCMs primed. Roll those shoulders. You can pull your arms across the front of your body, loosening up all of the muscles in the shoulder area. You could do a little bit of this if you wanted to. You could do a little bit of stretching up this way and even impact your levator scapula, I'm blanking. Anyways, I'll get back into that. It's very difficult for me to remember all the muscle names and also think about the stretches themselves. Your latissimus dorsi. That's what I was thinking about. So you've got your trapezius and your lats, which are larger muscle groups that attach different points on the shoulders and the back, but they also will have an impact in how your shoulders and your neck function. So back to those neck stretches that you could do a little bit every day. And we're gonna incorporate something called active isolated stretching. And you could do this on yourself. This is also something that certain massage therapists and physical therapists will sometimes do predominantly with athletes, but anybody can do this themselves. The trick with active isolated stretching is that you actively are going to move your body as far as you can in that range of motion. So if we're going to start, say, with this direction, you're going to move your neck as far as you can towards your shoulder. Then you'll take your hand and give it a little bit of extra 1, 2, and then release and come back to resting. You can repeat that movement on the other side. 1, 2, and then you're going back to resting. My recommendation is that you do that 3 to 5 times per side. After doing it that direction, we're going to turn our neck this way. Try to get your chin as far as you can close to the shoulder. Don't pull your shoulder towards your chin. Keep your shoulders at a resting position. Move your neck as far as you can, and then with your hand, 1, 2, very gently, a little extra in that direction, 3 to 5 times on that side. It's always good then to balance it out and repeat the motion on the other side. Every time you do that, you will notice with each consecutive movement that you're able to move just a little bit farther and a little bit farther. If you experience a little bit of discomfort with any of these movements, pay close attention, because sometimes it's just a constricted or a tight muscle that is causing you to feel that discomfort. It's not necessarily a cause for alarm, although we have a tendency to do what's called guarding. When we feel pain in a direction that we're moving, we stop the movement because we are alarmed by the pain. And unfortunately, when we do guarding and we don't continue through the full range of motion, we actually cause more issues to develop. After doing both the right and the left side, this direction, also rotating your neck to the right and left side, you're going to take your chin, line it up right about with your nipple, 45 degrees, about 45 degrees. And then in this position, we will use this particular angle to stretch these SCM muscles back. Again, 1, 2, return to rest. Do that 3 to 5 times, and then repeat the movement on the other side to stretch out the right SCM muscles. 1, 2, and then in the same angle, you can then isolate some of these other neck muscles on the back, the levator scapula and a little bit of the scalenes. 1, 2, but predominantly the levator scapula and your traps. 1, 2, and then repeat that movement on the other side. 1, 2. The reason we are only holding the stretch for about 2 seconds is because of something called the myotatic stretch reflex, which you are welcome to look up. But basically, to summarize, it is just a natural contractile response that the body has when it is moved out of a resting position into a sort of elongated position. Once it reaches about 1.6 times its natural length, it naturally wants to contract and come back to a resting position. Oftentimes, these chronic muscle spasms that we have are because maybe we spend a lot of time with our head cocked to the side. We used to be holding our phones, or even just if you're concentrating on something and not really paying attention to what you're doing, or if you have a job that causes you to have to carry something heavy on one side and it's being pulled. Over time, the body wants to return to a resting position. It's not able to because it's being pulled in that direction. And that can be the cause of some of the issues that you have going on in your neck if it's not from some sort of a fall or abrupt impact. Most of the issues we have are because of chronic misuse or chronic use of a muscle. These are some simple things that you can incorporate every single day just to get more movement, more blood flow, and more healing to those muscles without having to spend a bunch of money on a chiropractor or, a massage therapist. It's not something we all have options to do, especially right now. So I hope you found that helpful.